The former queen of home shopping, who was once loved and admired on television, Na Dong was the center of attention and a symbol of success. But now, her world is completely different. From the dazzling lights of the studio, she has ended up in the chaotic life of an exhausted housewife, her hair disheveled and her clothes smelling of milk and diapers. Who would have thought that the woman who once shone in front of the camera would now be bowing her head, repeatedly apologizing because of her mischievous child? The star who once sparkled the brightest seems to have slowly lost her light. This is the powerful story of a woman, and the heavy price paid in exchange for sacrifice. Na Dong, our main character, represents the nightmare of many married women who, upon reaching their 40th birthday, still carry the burden of raising 2 children alone. With a child in each arm, she went to the meeting place because her husband was busy with work. The scene at the restaurant became even more bitter. While her 2 close friends were well-dressed and elegant, Na Dong wore old, noisy shoes, and her nicest outfit had been stained by her child, forcing her to change into a simple house t-shirt. She ate quickly, as if she had not eaten for a long time, taking advantage of every minute before the children started crying again. The looks of concern and even slight pity from her friends felt like needles piercing her dignity. The height of her humiliation came when she ran into a former colleague in such a pitiful state, while on the large screen her former magnificent image was being displayed. That stark contrast would weigh heavily on anyone who witnessed it. But this film is not only about the tears of a housewife. The 2 friends with Na Dong, who appear glamorous on the outside and often scold her, each carry their own wounds inside. One is wealthy but alone, the other successful but slowly burning out from her longing to have a child. 3 women, 3 forms of crisis at the age of 40. Will they remain patient, or will they rebel together to rediscover themselves? Witness their complicated yet humorous journey. Do Young's greatest concern is their long-standing inability to have a child. At the restaurant, she poured out to Inge the hardships and pressure of their efforts to conceive. Every day, her own mother nags her to get pregnant to complete the family, while her mother-in-law keeps hinting that she is already old and will have difficulty giving birth. What hurts more is that her husband, Sang Min, seems indifferent, as if it is not his responsibility. In truth, Do Young is not excessively obsessed with having a child, but she knows the pressure of age is heavy. She is already past 40, and she fears regretting it someday if she does not have a child now. When she arrived home, she found the refrigerator filled with herbal medicines prepared by her mother, hoping they would help her conceive more easily. But pregnancy does not depend on her efforts alone. That night, she wore a sexy and fragrant nightgown to seduce her husband, but even at midnight, Sang Min had not yet come home. It was almost dawn when he quietly returned, looking exhausted. He deliberately stayed out late to avoid being intimate with his wife. At his middle age, he seemed to have lost vigor in their relationship. In anger, Do Young searched through her husband's bag and discovered a secret, a sexy figurine of a female character hidden inside. He was more fascinated with those toys than with his real wife. When he saw his wife's anger, Sang Min hurriedly undressed to make amends, but he could do nothing because of a physical problem. In utter frustration, Do Young removed her sock and threw it at her husband's face. He had long had issues with his masculinity. This was not a new problem. Their other friend is Inge, a successful woman in the glamorous fashion industry. But she also has a relationship problem. She cannot confide in anyone. She is in a relationship with a young pilot who is also a runway model. The man is handsome with a perfect physique, admired by many. But whenever Inge tries to bring their relationship to a more serious level, he carefully avoids it. Sometimes Inge wonders if he only sees her as a living ATM. In the end, what Na Dong is going through also revolves around the man by her side. It is her birthday today, but Woo Bin comes home extremely drunk. Na Dong cannot help but scold her husband for his lack of care and responsibility. All she wanted was one day of freedom and happiness with her friends. She had hoped he would come home early to take care of the children so she could at least go out. But even that simple request was not fulfilled. With a smug smile, her drunken husband handed her the prepared gift. Inside was a kitchen apron, which brought Na Dong to tears despite her bitter smile. He even put the apron on her and praised her beauty. But Na Dong's tears finally poured out. She directly expressed the resentment she had long kept inside. She wanted to work and contribute, not just be a housewife confined to the kitchen. She had not said it before because she did not want to seem selfish. That night, she sat alone in the dark living room watching a home shopping program. On the screen, a younger host enthusiastically presented a product. She could not help but remember herself when she was the one on stage, shining and confident in front of the camera. But now, she seems to be growing old alone in the midst of endless housework. When her 2 children fell asleep, she messaged her 2 closest friends. In the group chat, she and Do Young apologized to each other for the hurtful words they had exchanged earlier. Inge mediated to bring them closer again. Both of them believed that Na Dong had real ability and encouraged her to return to work to prove her worth. Du Yong added that it is better to live with a little guilt than to live with resentment for a lifetime. Because of that honest conversation, Na Dong's resolve grew stronger. The next day, she bravely told her husband that she wanted to work again. She declared that she wanted to return as a host of the shopping program, her former field. But her husband immediately poured cold reality over her without the slightest hesitation. Na Dong's husband believes that she cannot balance work, pressure, and caring for young children at the same time. He repeatedly emphasizes her age to discourage her. For him, a woman over 40 has no reason to make life harder by competing in a career. But this only strengthens and deepens Na Dong's determination. She even secretly began looking for a new house to move into to make things easier for her work. Before long, she found a house that perfectly suited her needs. But she was shocked to discover that the owner was Mi Suk, her former classmate from junior high school. Back when they were students, they once had a fierce fight and a deep conflict that was never resolved. Now Mi Suk is successful and wealthy, which surprises Na Dong. Even more surprising, she is also a well-known home shopping host, just like Na Dong used to be. When Mi Suk learned that Na Dong was looking for a job, she immediately offered her a position on her team. But to preserve her pride in front of her former rival, Na Dong lied and said that everything was fine and that she had already found another good job. To ensure a smooth return to work, Na Dong decided to rent Mi Suk's house. After settling her living situation, she busied herself submitting applications to various companies. But reality was harsh. Almost every company she applied to rejected her. Even when she said she was willing to work without pay, no one accepted her. In deep disappointment, she placed her last hope in her former company, Sweet Home. Recently, the channel was looking for a host for a special program for those who wanted to return to work after a long break. Na Dong wanted to apply, but her husband strongly opposed it. He had no confidence in her ability after being away from the industry for several years. To him, her fame was over and she would only end up failing. While Na Dong felt discouraged by her husband's opposition, her close friend Inge was facing her own love problem. For over a week, her pilot boyfriend had not spoken to her. No replies to messages or calls. That night, the man finally called, but he did not even ask how she was. Instead, he simply borrowed her laptop for personal use and even asked her to bring the jacket he had left at her place. Inge was left speechless by the lack of care and apparent exploitation by her younger boyfriend. She immediately packed a suitcase, went to the man's studio, and broke up with him. Not long after, a photo of their argument was taken and quickly spread online, becoming the subject of gossip. Her colleagues comforted her, saying that a breakup is a new beginning and a return to a world full of possibilities. But Inge was not that optimistic. She still had lingering feelings. That night, she went to Na Dong's house to vent her frustrations. While drinking, she continuously spoke badly about her ex-boyfriend in front of her two friends. She admitted that she had long known that he only loved her money. In their 3 years together, he had never once spent money on her. Whenever they dined out and it was time to pay, he would suddenly disappear into the bathroom. Inge could not help but regret the 3 years of her youth wasted on the wrong person. But after venting her anger, the conversation turned to the man's one strength: his skill in bed. Inge admitted that he was the strongest among all the men she had dated. She said she was not looking for deep love. What she worried about was that she might never find someone better than him. When Inge became drunk, the conversation between Na Dong and Du Yong turned to job hunting. Na Dong admitted that she wanted to return to her former company, but was afraid of being rejected. Inge, drunk, advised, "If you always hesitate, you'll get nowhere." She encouraged Na Dong to be brave and submit her application. Du Yong wholeheartedly supported her as well, saying that simply facing her true desire was already a big step. If so, why not try fighting with all her strength? The sincere support of her two closest friends reignited hope in Na Dong's heart. At midnight, when her husband was fast asleep, she quietly got up and went to the living room. She stood alone in front of the mirror and patiently rehearsed what she would say in the interview the next day. While Na Dong was busy preparing for work, Inge began to regret their breakup. One day, she went to the studio where her boyfriend worked, intending to reconcile. Her colleagues there advised her to forget the conflict and make peace. Inge also noticed that the man occasionally glanced at her secretly. At that moment, her boyfriend was taking promotional photos for a female model from the company. But the model complained that his photography skills were weak. She was annoyed, saying she looked fat and unprofessional in the shots. At that crucial moment, Inge openly defended her boyfriend. She bluntly stated that advertisement photos cannot be as smooth and perfect as heavily edited images. After work, Inge was the first to break the silence. She said that her boyfriend's anger seemed to have lasted too long and apologized as well, admitting that she was the one who first suggested breaking up. For Inge, she had only said those words in a burst of emotion, but she never expected the man to take it seriously and truly prepare for a separation. Coldly, the boyfriend said that since they had already broken up, there was nothing left to talk about. Inge chased after him to explain, but instead she witnessed a painful scene, her boyfriend kissing another woman in the studio parking lot. At that moment, she woke up to reality. The man had long had someone else, and she was the only one left looking like a fool, appearing ridiculous. Do-young is also facing a similar situation. She and her husband agreed to meet at noon and go to a motel near the office. She wanted to try a new place, hoping it would help with their plan to have a child. In a message, her husband immediately agreed and even said he had canceled all his meetings. But at noon, Do-young discovered a funny yet embarrassing problem. The restaurant where her co-workers ate was right next to the motel. She moved secretly, as if doing something wrong, so as not to be noticed. She even wore a raincoat and walked along the wall to slip through unnoticed. After avoiding watchful eyes, she finally reached the motel and called her husband to ask for the room number. But once again, he made an excuse to avoid his responsibility as a husband. He said he suddenly had a stomachache and could not come. In anger, Do-young scolded him over the phone. That night, after calming down, she tried to talk seriously with her husband. She explained that her desire to have a child was not only due to family pressure, but because she wanted their relationship to become closer and stronger. She could not understand why her husband seemed to have lost interest in her. But in the face of her questions, the man had no answer and, as usual, ran to the bathroom to avoid the conversation. Meanwhile, Na-dong received good news from Sweet Home. She had passed the first screening of her application. She was overjoyed and immediately told her husband. But contrary to her expectations, his response was cold. He always used the children as an excuse to stop her. He insisted that Na-dong should continue sacrificing for the children for a few more years. That night, they had a fierce argument about her return to work. For 6 years of marriage, she had wholeheartedly fulfilled her duties as a good wife and mother. Now that the children were a bit older, she only wanted to work. But her husband's old-fashioned mindset could not accept that desire. To him, he alone was the pillar of the household, and their concerns were not equal. Na-dong smiled bitterly, realizing that in her husband's eyes she was nothing more than a messy housewife. The next day, while dropping her children off at school, she learned that there would be an important classroom observation for parents, and it happened to fall on the same day as her job interview. She was deeply troubled. Should she prioritize her child or her own dream? She could not choose between being a good mother and fulfilling her own worth. Nevertheless, she continued preparing for the interview. Every household item, from a toothbrush to a hair curler, became a prop for her rehearsal. She even used skincare products as examples in her sales practice. That night, a new message appeared in the parents' group chat about the important observation the next day. She began typing a message saying she could not attend because she had an interview, but she deleted it out of fear of being judged. The next day, she bravely left her children at school to go to the interview. But while on the way, the teacher called and said that her child had a high fever and someone needed to come immediately. She had no choice but to give up the interview and rush to the hospital to take care of her sick child. That night, when the two children were fast asleep after their fever, Na-dong once again held back her quiet tears. She was angry at herself because life always placed her in cruel choices. The next day, while shopping at the supermarket with a friend, she bought a large amount of beer to ease her sadness. In those moments, she seemed to have no other way to cope but to drown herself in alcohol. As they chatted, both of them criticized their uncaring husbands. Suddenly, Na-dong received a message from Sweet Home. The interview schedule had been postponed, and she still had a chance. There was only 1 hour left before it began. Not wanting to waste that final opportunity, she immediately took action. She removed her sauce-stained t-shirt, borrowed clothes from her friend, and quickly put on makeup while heading to the company. When she arrived at the interview location, she saw a familiar face, Mi-suk, who was also waiting to be interviewed. The pressure increased even more with the presence of her former strict boss. Many years ago, one day she received a call from the nanny saying her child was sick. Without hesitation, she left the office to go home, even though she was late for an important meeting with a major client. Before the meeting began, the nanny called her again, putting her in an even tighter spot. Her superior at the time forced her to choose work or family. If she answered the call, she would have to leave the company. After a moment of hesitation, she chose to answer because she was worried about her child, and because of that, she lost her job. Now, facing her former boss again, her emotions were in turmoil. During the interview, she and Mi-suk entered together to compete. Mi-suk was also a mother, but had the advantage of a professional nanny caring for her child. The superiors asked them to perform an on-the-spot television sales demonstration. With extensive experience in live stream selling, Mi Suk's presentation was smooth and polished. But Na Dong's approach was unusual. Instead of conventional selling, she appealed to the viewer's emotions. Through emotional storytelling and her real experiences as a housewife, she tried to touch people's hearts. In the end, beyond expectations, both of them were accepted into the next stage. Overjoyed, Na Dong immediately called her husband to share the result. But at that very moment, Woo Bin was secretly meeting another woman. While her friends happily congratulated her, Na Dong explained that it was only the second round. There was still a final stage where she would need to go live on air to introduce a product in front of viewers. She would need to dress elegantly and professionally and personally choose the product she would sell. It would surely be an intense battle against the other candidates. When her husband came home that night, she excitedly shared the interview results. But his reaction was cold. There were no congratulations, only belittling and disdain for her efforts. At that moment, she fully realized how selfish and stubborn her husband was. Nevertheless, her decision was firm. No matter his opposition, she would not give up this time. To pass the final stage, Na Dong joined a crash diet program. Every day, she diligently rode a bicycle to quickly regain her former figure before audition day. Her closest friends gave their full support. They decided to help her completely transform. The next day, the three of them went to a clothing store to shop and fix her hair. After their joyful shopping, they ate delicious food together that they had not tasted in a long time. In front of her friends and good food, Na Dong freely talked about her cold relationship with her husband. She bluntly said that whenever she saw him recently, she felt irritated and did not even want to touch him. The restaurant's special dish was a fortune cookie with a hidden message inside. The one Na Dong picked read, "A storm begins with the flap of a butterfly's wings." She did not immediately understand its meaning, but her two friends related their own messages to their lives. Do Young's fortune read, "Break the familiar pattern and wait for a new opportunity." Although she did not fully understand it, she connected it to her desire to have a child. That night, her troubled husband voluntarily offered to attend couple therapy with her. Because of guilt, he wanted to face and fix their problem. Do Young was overjoyed at the suggestion. At last, her husband had the courage to confront the sensitive issue. Soon, they went to a psychologist for therapy. But the doctor's method was unusual. Instead of asking the man about his problem, the focus was directed at Do Young, and the doctor bluntly said that when they were intimate, she should not laugh at or belittle her husband. The doctor explained that men are extremely sensitive to words that criticize their ability. Do Young felt flustered and wronged. Matters in the bedroom were difficult to discuss, and she was not even sure whether her words and actions had truly lowered her husband's confidence. Then the psychologist conducted a strange experiment on Do Young's husband. He wrapped him in a blanket like a cocoon and instructed him to use his own strength and determination to break free, like a caterpillar that must emerge to become a butterfly. Throughout the process, Do Young stood beside him, energetically encouraging her husband. When he still could not stand, she helped the doctor, and together they pulled both ends of the blanket, using all their strength to lift him from the floor, hoping to restore his confidence as a man. But because of a mistake, Sang Min's forehead hit the floor hard. The therapy session, full of hope, ended in embarrassing failure. On the way home, Sang Min stopped at a pharmacy to buy pain medicine and bandages. Do Young sat in the passenger seat when she noticed a strange detail. On the driver's seat was a long strand of brightly colored hair, completely different from her black hair. It clearly was not hers. She sensed that her husband was hiding something and began to suspect infidelity. At midnight, while her husband was fast asleep, she secretly took his phone and tried to unlock it using various passwords related to their birthdays and anniversaries, but she failed. At that moment, she noticed a box hidden under the desk in her husband's private study. When she opened it, she was shocked by what was inside, a very sexy and daring set of lingerie. Do Young could no longer suppress her jealousy. She immediately brought the lingerie to the bedroom, woke her husband, and confronted him. Still sleepy, Sang Min hesitated before saying it was a gift for his mother. He even defended himself, saying that even elderly women have the right to dress up and take care of themselves. Do Young did not fully believe him, but with no evidence, she remained silent. The next day, she cautiously mentioned to her female co-workers the issue of daring lingerie for the elderly. According to them, there are indeed modern older women who like that style. Because of this, she temporarily set aside her suspicion and blamed herself for doubting him. Meanwhile, In still could not completely escape the shadow of her terrible ex-boyfriend. One day, in the condominium parking lot, she saw a car blocking her assigned space. She called the owner using the number posted, and a woman with a sweet voice answered, sounding indifferent and even making her wait. Soon, the owner arrived with an arrogant demeanor. Inge was shocked to discover that this was her ex's new girlfriend, a beautiful and powerful representative of a rival magazine. Although the woman acted innocent, her words were sharp and she had no intention of backing down. She even threatened that the magazine Inge managed could be shut down due to declining sales. Inge was furious but forced to give way. As the two drove away, she noticed a pair of dolls hanging inside the car, a gift her ex had given her during Christmas when they were still together. Back then, she had given him expensive clothes, while he had given her only cheap dolls. Her resentment intensified. She sped up her car and blocked the woman's vehicle. The ex got out angrily, but without fear. Inge kissed him in front of the new girlfriend. Then she bluntly said that she had supported him for 3 years, feeding him, buying him things, yet he still left her. She warned the woman to be careful of such an opportunistic man. Then she grabbed the dolls and threw them away. Instead of feeling jealous, the woman even seemed to admire her boldness. However, Inge still could not find peace. She asked her ex whether he had been in a relationship with the woman for a long time. The man replied that Inge was the first to break their agreement, to love but not marry. He said she had repeatedly mentioned marriage, which pressured him. Those cold words completely shattered Inge's belief in love. She drowned herself in alcohol, and in her drunkenness, she even strained her neck. When she went to the hospital for treatment, she discovered that the therapist was Sang-go, a former acquaintance from college. Meanwhile, Na-dong was extremely busy preparing for the final stage of the interview that would determine her future. But her time was very limited. Only in the depth of night, when everyone was asleep. Before midnight arrived, she first had to put her 2 mischievous children to sleep. When the children were already fast asleep, that was the only time Na-dong had for herself. In the quiet night, when no one was watching, she faced the camera of her phone and recorded alone. Again and again, she rehearsed the movements and speech of a professional shopping program host. This was her final battle and her last chance to change her life, so she needed to be prepared and perfect. The next day, Na-dong's sister-in-law learned about her plan to return to work. Although she did not openly oppose it, her words carried a tone of discouragement. She reminded Na-dong that the world now moves quickly and harshly. A housewife like Na-dong who had stayed home for 6 years might struggle to keep up with the pressure. The sister-in-law even used herself as an example, saying that even families where both spouses work often only appear fine on the outside, but are full of conflict within. She said Na-dong should prepare for the possibility of family breakdown if she would not remain strong. Meanwhile, Woo Bin was working at Sku Company. Recently, rumors had spread in the office that he was having an affair with a young and beautiful co-worker. Manager Say also knew about it and secretly warned him. He was instructed to immediately cut off his connection with the woman. If Na-dong were to enter the company and everything were exposed, there would be no way to save the situation. To hide his infidelity, Woo Bin went home and gave Na-dong several calling cards from other companies. Calmly, he advised her not to apply at Sku and to try elsewhere instead. But Na-dong had her own principles and dignity. She had once left her career at Sweet Home for her children. Now, she wanted to return to the very place where she had fallen to prove herself. Because of her husband's excessive insistence that she apply elsewhere, she began to doubt. She wondered if he was ashamed of them working in the same company. Woo Bin could not confess the real reason, his fear that his affair would be exposed, so he was forced to agree to what his wife wanted. Her husband's opposition and her sister-in-law's warnings caused Na-dong to doubt her own ability. She thought that perhaps they were right. The world had changed too quickly, and she had long been busy in the kitchen and caring for the children. Perhaps her knowledge and skills had been left behind in this era dominated by technology. One day, she helped her neighbor Jin-hai watch over a stall at the children's school flea market. There, each child sold handmade items to raise funds. But Jin-hai's child could not sell anything because the items were not attractive. The child cried in frustration. To help, Na-dong did not hesitate to bring out a frying pan in the middle of the market and began demonstrating and selling like a real host. Energetically, she introduced the use and effectiveness of the scrub pad made by the child. Because of her skill and natural charisma, all the products were quickly sold out and even snatched up by housewives. Jin-hai witnessed everything and believed that Na-dong's talent had not faded. With the courage strengthened by her friend's support, Na-dong bravely faced the final stage of the interview. Unlike the other candidates and her former classmate Mi-suk, who were elegantly dressed with heavy makeup, she wore something simple, a familiar apron, and held a handmade soap. That seemingly ordinary soap was the product she chose. Drawing from her experience as a housewife, her presentation became lively, genuine, and convincing. Through stories that touched the hearts of consumers, she impressed the judges. Soon after, the interview results were sent through a message. Trembling, Na-dong opened her phone. She read good news. She was officially accepted at Sweet Home. Overjoyed, she invited her 2 closest friends to a delicious dinner in gratitude. While eating, she and Do-young asked Inge about the state of her heart. Inge shared that a few days earlier, while seeking treatment for her strained neck, she had encountered a former college acquaintance, Sang-gilu. Back in college, Inge and Sang-gu had a vague emotional chapter, but it did not develop into a serious relationship. Now, by coincidence, Sang-gu passed by the restaurant where the three women were eating. From the way he looked at Inge, Na-dong and De-young noticed that he seemed to still have feelings for her. They advised Inge to try opening her heart and giving him a chance. Before, Inge had only found Sang-gu's appearance ordinary, but after many years apart, she found herself liking him more as she observed him. He looked more put together and more mature. She was even more surprised to discover that they were neighbors in the same condominium, and their units faced each other. Sang-gu escorted her to her door and repeatedly told her that if any rude person or her ex-boyfriend caused trouble, she should call him immediately. As Inge was about to open the door, her opportunistic ex-boyfriend suddenly came out from inside her house. She was startled and leaned back against Sang-gu. Shamelessly, the ex said he had only returned to get the tablet he had left behind. Upon seeing Sang-gu, he became jealous and asked who the man was. Annoyed, Inge replied that he should no longer interfere in her personal life. In a surge of emotion, she grabbed Sang-gu's hand, pulled him inside, and slammed the door shut. Afraid that the ex might hear them outside, Inge stood very close to Sang-gu and loudly said that they had broken up because he was too irritating. Because of their closeness, Sang-gu's heart pounded loudly. When they were sure the ex had left, Sang-gu stayed to make sure Inge changed her door password. He again told her to call him if anything happened. After passing the interview, Na-dong officially started her first day at Sweet Home. She learned that Mi-suk had also been accepted in the same batch. Returning to the office after 6 years, Na-dong tried to remain humble and adapt to her co-workers. But two younger employees were careless. They boasted that Na-dong was a veteran with television experience, while others like Mi-suk only had live stream experience and had never hosted professionally. Even though Na-dong repeatedly stayed humble, Mi-suk and the other co-workers were hurt by those words. She directly said that if Na-dong expected special treatment because of her past experience, she would not tolerate it. Each new employee was assigned a mentor, and unexpectedly, Ina, the one who had once clashed with Na-dong, was assigned to guide her. Ina immediately asked manager Seo to change the decision because of their bad history. But when the manager refused, Ina planned to make things difficult for Na-dong as her mentor. Na-dong accidentally overheard Ina's plan, but to maintain peace in the office, she chose to stay humble. She approached Ina and apologized, saying she had stopped working for 6 years and felt like she was starting again as a beginner. She asked to be treated as a junior who needed guidance. There was suddenly a problem in the studio when the model scheduled to introduce the product could not attend due to an accident. Na-dong volunteered to replace her, but Ina lied and said the product to be presented was hair care to make the presentation more effective. Because of this, Na-dong wet her hair to suit the product. However, upon arriving at the studio, she learned that it was actually makeup that would be introduced. When she asked, Ina pretended to know nothing and even blamed her for not checking the script. Before the day ended, Ina scolded her, saying she had damaged the program's image. Na-dong quietly accepted everything without answering back. That night, there was a welcome dinner for the new employees. But both her parents and in-laws were busy, so there was no one to watch the children. When she asked her husband for help, he made an excuse that he had somewhere to go and immediately left. With no other choice, she asked Jin-hai to watch her 2 children for a while. At the dinner, manager Seo introduced her to the senior managers as his former capable staff who had left because of family, something that had disappointed him before. Na-dong bowed and promised that upon her return, she would do everything not to disappoint the manager. After dinner, her co-workers invited her to karaoke. To fit in, she forced herself to dance and sing with them. Manager Seo quietly reminded her that, as a mother newly returning to work, she needed to work twice as hard to prove herself. Na-dong repeatedly nodded, but worry and hesitation were visible on her face, as if she wanted to say something but held back because of concern for her children. When Ina saw that, she immediately raised her eyebrows and mocked her. She said that if Na-dong could not even stay until the end of an important gathering, why had she returned to the company at all? Na-dong did not argue. She excused herself early and hurried to her neighbor's house to pick up her children. When she arrived, she found Jin-hai in a heated argument with her daughter. Because Jin-hai had taken care of Na-dong's 2 children, she had been forced to send her own daughter, who was preparing for a university entrance exam, to a review center to keep the house quiet. Na-dong felt immense guilt and worry. Fortunately, Jin-hai was kind and understanding. Instead of getting angry, she even gave Na-dong a warm dinner. While eating, Na-dong could not stop her tears. She realized that returning to the office as a mother of 2 was not as easy and glamorous as she had imagined. Jin-hai gently comforted her and told her to trust herself and continue. When the children grow up and become independent, she would surely not regret the brave decision she was making now. For Jin-hai, Helping Na Dong was not only because they were neighbors. In a way, Na Dong was fulfilling the career dream she herself had not achieved. Meanwhile, Na Dong's two closest friends were facing their own struggles. Inge noticed that she had not had her period for 3 months. But when she took a pregnancy test, only one line appeared. Do Young accompanied her to the hospital, and there the doctor said she was a typical case of early menopause. It meant that her ovarian function had significantly declined, and she had almost no chance of conceiving naturally. Although heartbroken, Inge pretended to be strong in front of Do Young. While at the office, she found herself thinking about a future alone. No husband, no child, no companion. She felt that if this continued, she would grow old alone and drown in loneliness. She also wanted to marry and have children like other women, but the reality that she was single and already had ovarian problems seemed to prevent her from dreaming further. In contrast, Do Young's situation was the opposite. She was surrounded by pressure to have a child. One day, her mother-in-law invited her over and gave her a carefully wrapped gift. When she opened it, she blushed. A thick, old-style underwear meant to keep the womb warm. Her mother-in-law explained that to conceive easily, the lower abdomen must be kept warm. Do Young awkwardly accepted it, knowing it was a hint about childbirth. She also noticed that all her husband's online orders were being delivered to her mother-in-law's house, not to their own home. Her mother-in-law even gave her charms and complained that her fate seemed unlucky because she had not yet been given a grandchild. Alone, Do Young muttered her resentment. Why had her mother-in-law not considered that perhaps the problem lay with her own son? Out of curiosity, she secretly brought home one of her husband's parcels from her mother-in-law's house. When she opened it, she was shocked to see a silicone mannequin head that looked frightening. She could not understand why her husband had bought such a thing. Meanwhile, Na Dong's challenges at work continued. The company needed to choose a product to promote for the autumn campaign. Na Dong suggested an indoor automatic exercise bike suitable for the elderly who needed light exercise. But Ina immediately rejected it, saying her thinking was outdated and not suitable for the modern market. Though insulting, during the official meeting Ina claimed the idea and presented it as her own concept, even copying the key selling points from Na Dong's explanation. Manager Seo even praised her in front of everyone. After the meeting, Na Dong confronted Ina, but she denied everything. Angrily, Na Dong said she would no longer allow herself to be bullied. In the next project, the company planned to sell fresh apples. Na Dong suggested that the team go directly to the orchard to film and show viewers the clean and fresh harvesting process. The higher-ups liked this creative idea. Meanwhile, Ina relied only on her pretty face and outward appearance. Ina could not think of any proper idea. When the day of the orchard shooting arrived, Na Dong was busy studying the product and directing the video shoot. Meanwhile, because of excessive grooming and strong perfume, Ina was accidentally stung on the face by a bee. Na Dong immediately brought her to the hospital for first aid. Because Ina's face became swollen and almost deformed, she could no longer appear on the live program. With time running out, Manager Seo ordered that Na Dong replace her as the main host of the shopping show for that session. Na Dong quickly drove back to the studio. To be more effective and relatable to viewers, she deliberately wore a housewife's apron. Using her kitchen experience and thorough preparation at the orchard, her television hosting was nearly perfect. She gained the viewers' trust through her sincerity and knowledge of the product. After the program, the huge stock of apples in the warehouse was almost sold out in record time. Manager Seo called her to praise her excellent performance and immediately promoted her to assistant host, shortening her probation period. Na Dong's hands trembled as she held the phone, almost crying with joy. At last, her quiet efforts had been justified. But behind the scenes, Ina was secretly looking for ways to block Na Dong's rise. She met with Woo Bin and hoped to use his power as a husband to persuade Na Dong to quit her job. Ina did not want to lose fame and position to an older woman like Na Dong. She also believed that Woo Bin would not want his affair exposed if they worked at the same company. But this time, Woo Bin defended his wife and warned Ina not to interfere in her life. The next day, when Na Dong checked the new program schedule, she noticed that her name was not on the list of hosts. When she asked Manager Seo, she learned that Ina had used her authority as the main host to oppose Na Dong's participation as assistant. She immediately confronted Ina. She had helped and replaced her when she was stung by a bee, yet now she was being repaid with malice. She shared her frustration with her two closest friends. Inge suggested directly reporting Ina to higher management, but Do Young stopped her. She explained that Na Dong was still new and had just been promoted, while Ina had tenure and fans. In the end, Na Dong might be the one harmed. It would be better to find a more careful way. Afterward, Na Dong asked Inge about the result of her checkup. Not wanting her friend to worry, Inge lied and said it was only a simple hormonal imbalance that would improve with medication. On the way home, Do Young asked Inge if she had considered freezing her eggs. In truth, she had thought about it, but the doctor had said that due to her condition, the chances of success were low. Meanwhile, Do-young's suspicion of her husband continued. She thought about the mysterious parcel delivered to her mother-in-law's house and decided to go there while the older woman was away. In a corner of the storage room, she discovered a hidden space behind clutter. It was filled with figurines and dolls of various sizes, as well as many sexy women's clothes. When she opened another cabinet, she almost fainted in fear. Inside sat what looked like a woman. As she approached, she realized it was a life-size sex doll carefully dressed up. Even more shocking, on the bed was another doll without a head. Beside it was a photo of Sang-min posing sweetly with the two dolls, as if they were a married couple. At that moment, she heard her husband's footsteps approaching. She quickly hid behind a cabinet and heard him talking strangely to the dolls. He stroked them and said he felt more at ease now because his wife often came home drunk and no longer mentioned having a child. Do-young could no longer hold back her anger. She stepped out of hiding and confronted her husband. In the middle of the heated argument, Do-young finally learned that those strange dolls had been part of Sang-min's life long before they married. She called her husband sick and twisted in the mind and even threatened to burn all the dolls. During their struggle, she accidentally broke the arm of his favorite doll. Sang-min immediately hugged it and cried desperately, as if a real person had been hurt. At that moment, Do-young's heart completely turned cold at the weakness and perversion she saw in her husband. Meanwhile, at work, Na-dong came up with a clever way to counter Ina. Inge was a powerful deputy editor-in-chief of a famous fashion magazine, and Ina had long admired her style. So Na-dong called Inge and asked her to invite Ina for a magazine interview. Although hesitant, Inge agreed to help her friend. Na-dong informed Ina of the opportunity and suggested they set aside their conflict for mutual benefit. She knew Ina wanted fame and hoped that in return she would recommend her as assistant host for major shows. Ina did not miss the opportunity and immediately pretended that their relationship was fine. During the interview, Inge restrained her personal irritation toward Ina. Ina even introduced a man she wanted to set up with Inge, a middle-aged man with a big belly, far from Inge's taste. More insulting was that in the middle of the interview, Ina suddenly mentioned menopause and asked whether Inge drank pomegranate juice, supposedly for women in perimenopause. It touched a painful part of Inge's heart, but she calmly returned the question and asked Ina about her secret to rapid weight loss. Ina lied that she was naturally slim, though in truth she had undergone painful liposuction. Fortunately, the interview ended without major scandal. After the recording, Ina once again displayed shamelessness. She insisted on recommending the man to Inge and said that since she was already 41, she should not be too choosy. She did not notice the anger on Inge's face and even asked her to remove the part about her weight loss from the article. Inge coldly refused. Na-dong saw the tension and pulled Inge aside to speak privately, advising her to give in to Ina for the sake of peace. But Inge became even angrier and bluntly said that if it were not for Na-dong, she would never publish Ina in her magazine. They did not know that Ina had overheard everything. Furious, she left and accused Na-dong of surely slandering her behind her back. Na-dong tried to chase her and explain, but their old wounds resurfaced. She remembered the words Ina once said, that she was a lazy full-time mother who only depended on her husband. It was true that being a full-time mother was not easy, but that was no reason to belittle her. Ina shouted that she had once envied Na-dong, yet was also grateful for the opportunity she gave her. Now she felt betrayed, and that they were the same. After the confrontation, Na-dong looked for Inge, but she had already left. At home, in deep disappointment, Inge gathered all the sanitary pads she had stored and threw them into the trash, like discarding her last hope of becoming a mother. She did not answer Na-dong's calls. In desperation, she decided to go to a marriage agency to look for a husband, even lowering her standards. But after reviewing her profile, she was given a rating of C. Her pride was hurt. She was beautiful, had a prestigious job and reputation in the fashion world. How could she be only a C? The agency bluntly said that the fashion magazine field was not highly desirable in the marriage market for many men. Aside from her job, Inge's age was her biggest obstacle. At 41, the possibility of conceiving naturally was very difficult. Inge insisted that she had no plans to have children and did not need an extremely wealthy man. But when asked what exact type of man she wanted, she could only vaguely say two words, feeling or connection. The matchmaking agency nodded and promised to find her an excellent man who would meet her strict standards. The next day at the company, Na-dong continued looking for a way to apologize to Ina and fix their conflict. But she was shocked to hear that Ina had suddenly requested to replace the assistant host for the next show, and Mi-suk had been chosen. That night there was an important company party. Na-dong called her husband to tell him to take good care of their two children. After the call, she accidentally witnessed a disgusting scene of a manager harassing Ina in a corner. Because of Na-dong's sudden arrival, the manager was forced to step back and leave. But instead of thanking her, Ina even warned her not to spread what had happened. The next day, Ina did not come to work. Worried, Na Dong went to her house. She heard the phone ringing repeatedly inside, but no one answered. Sensing something was wrong, she went in. There she saw Ina lying on the floor, trying to reach the phone, but with no strength left. She quickly brought her to the hospital. Ina needed emergency surgery due to a severe stomach problem. While unconscious, memories of years of hardship returned to Ina. She had once been overweight and constantly criticized for her appearance. To lose weight and reach where she was now, she had sacrificed her favorite foods and been cruel to herself. When she woke up, Na Dong explained that because Ina drank mostly coffee and barely ate, her stomach had been damaged. She sincerely apologized about the past slander and said she did not truly hate Ina. She had only vented her frustration due to work pressure. Faced with her care and honesty, Ina burst into tears and admitted that she envied Na Dong. She had a husband and children, while Ina had only her job. Whenever Na Dong appeared, she felt her own light fading. The company still planned to make Na Dong the assistant host because Mi Suk reportedly still lacked experience. But after hearing Ina's confession, Na Dong hesitated. She did not want to hurt her colleague further. Soon after, Mi Suk called her and asked to meet at a coffee shop in front of the company. When she arrived, she was shocked to see her husband with a young girl who was crying. The girl introduced herself as a shopping host at Sweet Home who had contract issues and had asked Na Dong's husband for help in finding a new job. Her husband advised her not to think badly. Mi Suk arrived and shamelessly asked Na Dong to give her the hosting opportunity instead. Na Dong refused, saying she had earned it through her own ability and effort. But Mi Suk threatened her about the house she was renting, which belonged to her. Na Dong did not back down and promised to compete fairly. At home, she diligently studied the products she would sell. The next day, she saw Mi Suk secretly giving an expensive gift to the producer to gain favor. She warned her that such methods were unfair, but Mi Suk insisted she would do anything to get the slot. In response, Na Dong deliberately dropped her thick research materials in front of the producer to show her preparation and dedication. Soon, the new schedule was released, and Mi Suk was furious to see that Na Dong was still the assistant host. While seething with anger, she suddenly noticed Na Dong seemingly happily joking with a man in the hallway. After asking around an older employee, Mi Suk learned that the man Na Dong was talking to was Woo Bin, her husband and also a powerful producer in the company. She immediately took advantage of this information to attack Na Dong. She spread rumors among their colleagues that Na Dong got the opportunity because she went through the back door with the help of her husband. She even claimed that Woo Bin must have given her the interview questions in advance so she could pass. To completely isolate Na Dong, Mi Suk and two other colleagues created a separate group chat where they spoke badly about her. They called her incompetent and said she relied only on family connections. One day, Na Dong picked up her child from kindergarten. The child was cheerful and even proudly said he had a new pretty girlfriend. Na Dong was shocked to discover that the girl was Mi Suk's daughter. When Mi Suk saw them, she immediately pulled her daughter away and forbade her from playing with Na Dong's child again. At the company, Na Dong heard that Mi Suk and some colleagues had held a celebration but deliberately did not invite her. However, she was not the type to be easily bullied. That night, she went to the party on her own, even without an invitation. Face to face, Mi Suk accused her of being promoted only because of an improper relationship with her husband. Na Dong tried to explain the truth, but her colleagues had already closed their minds and even called her shameless. Meanwhile, her two closest friends were also facing their own storms. At Du Young's company, rumors spread that she was about to divorce her husband. When she investigated the source, she found out that their team leader had spread it. Just because he saw her leaving a motel and heard her arguing on the phone, he immediately assumed she was having an affair. Furious, Du Young confronted him, but instead of apologizing, he asked who her new boyfriend was. Du Young could not hold back and lunged at him in the office. Because of the incident, both of them were summoned by higher management. Du Young was forced to explain that she had gone to the motel because it was her ovulation day and she and her husband wanted to try conceiving in a different environment. The next day, she met her mother and sister. Her sister, who had 2 children, repeatedly boasted about her happiness and carelessly asked whether the problem was with Du Young's husband or her own body. Although there was no bad intention, Du Young was hurt. She answered firmly that her husband and their marriage were fine. After calming herself, she went to Sang Min in the hidden room at her mother-in-law's house. He was still there with the dolls. She urged him to come home and seek treatment, but he only cried and said he wanted a divorce. Under Du Young's intense questioning, her husband admitted that he felt suffocated by the daily pressure about pregnancy. He shouted that he was a person with feelings, not a baby-making machine. When Du Young saw the notification on her phone that it was her ovulation day and that the chance of pregnancy was high, she could only laugh bitterly. Crying, she locked herself in the car like a child who had been abandoned. On the other hand, Inge began going on blind dates through the matchmaking agency. But the first man she met was strange and extremely stingy. He did not even offer her coffee and was busy on his cell phone. After only a few words, he already wanted to leave. Inge was furious when she saw him immediately move to another table to meet another woman. She rushed over and scolded him, suspecting he was an agent planted by the agency to force her to buy a more expensive VIP package. But the man insulted her, saying she was already old and still used photo editing apps to look younger, and that no one wanted to marry her. Inge almost attacked him if she had not been restrained. After the commotion at the coffee shop, she felt her stomach growl. She entered a small eatery to eat, but unfortunately, it was full. Inside, Inge saw a large family waiting for a table. They noticed that she was alone yet occupying a big table, so they began whispering and making remarks. The restaurant owner also seemed uneasy and appeared to want to ask her to give up her seat or leave to accommodate more guests. Out of embarrassment and sadness, Inge quickly made an excuse and quietly left. At that moment, she felt even more intensely alone and lost among so many people. She could no longer hold back and burst into tears right on the street. By coincidence, Sang-gu passed by and saw her crying. He approached and took her to eat hot ramen to make her feel better. Sang-gu was still the person who understood her most. He knew she often splashed soup on herself while eating, so he removed his jacket and lent it to her as an apron. Inge drank until she was drunk and poured out all her fears and worries about growing old alone. When she almost got into a fight with another customer because of her drunkenness, Sang-gu immediately carried her outside. Lying on his sturdy back, Inge felt like a child who had found someone to lean on. She smelled the familiar and comforting scent of his fragrance. When they arrived home, Sang-gu gently laid Inge on the bed and covered her with a blanket. But because of the alcohol, she wrapped her arms around his neck and kissed him passionately. Sang-gu could no longer suppress the feelings he had long hidden for her. And that night, in the midst of drunkenness and emotion, they had a relationship. Meanwhile, Na-dong's problems at the company were not yet over. The conflict between her and Mi-suk reached manager Seo. Mi-suk insisted that there was favoritism in hiring Na-dong. To ensure fairness and dispel rumors, manager Seo temporarily removed Na-dong's name from the official schedule. He rotated Mi-suk and other trainees as assistant host, but with a condition: if they failed, they would be immediately removed. As expected, due to lack of experience and confidence, the trainees failed and ruined the recording. Instead of admitting their shortcomings, they blamed Na-dong and called her unlucky. When it was Mi-suk's turn, she was confident at first, but once live, she made consecutive mistakes out of nervousness. She even cut off the main host and vomited while tasting the product. She was severely scolded and held accountable for the program's failure. One day, Na-dong once again picked up her child from kindergarten and saw Mi-suk's husband there. She remembered knowing him before as a troublesome teenager. Her child had once mentioned that Mi-suk's child was afraid of her own father. Suspicious, Na-dong immediately stopped the man and told the teacher that he was planning to take the child without informing the mother. To ensure the child's safety, she brought the man to the nearest police station. After a while, Mi-suk arrived, visibly anxious. She scolded her husband and demanded that he return the money he had stolen. In front of Na-dong, she broke down in tears and poured out her long-suppressed feelings. All her efforts at the company were only to secure a stable income and gain custody rights of her child from her useless husband. She feared losing both her job and her child after her failure on the show. Despite their past conflict, Na-dong chose to help her. She gave her own notebook containing secrets and techniques of hosting. Mi-suk was moved and sincerely asked for guidance. Na-dong even brought her home and wholeheartedly taught her experiences and knowledge. In the next live show, Mi-suk's performance was smooth and impressive. Because of this, their conflict ended, and from being enemies, they became understanding friends. But when Na-dong returned home that night, their part-time housekeeper suddenly resigned. Because of Na-dong's unpredictable work schedule, the housekeeper said it affected her own life. With no one else to turn to, Na-dong called her father-in-law to ask for help with the children. But he had just fallen and injured her foot, making it difficult for him to walk and unable to help. Na-dong sank deeper into trouble and was forced to think of another way to balance home and children. Meanwhile, Inge also had her own problem. The previous night, because of drunkenness and a moment of loss of control, she and Sang-gu had been together. When morning came and she sobered up, she was filled with shame and regret. She kept thinking about what Sang-gu had said before they were intimate, that the day would come when she would fall in love with him too. Inge did not know whether it was a serious confession of feelings or simply sweet words to win her over. She began to analyze and speculate. If Na-dong were asked, she might say it was just the pursuit of a charmer. If Du-young were asked, she would surely think it was a sincere confession of love. Inge was confused about how to understand Sang-ge's true intention. The next day, they left the apartment together for work. Inge pretended to have temporary amnesia and lied that she remembered nothing after getting drunk. Unexpectedly, Sang-ge played along and did not mention what happened, as if nothing special had occurred. At the office, Inge continued thinking and even wondered whether Sang-ge had not enjoyed being with her, which was why he seemed cold. Out of curiosity, she asked a young employee about the unusual pleasant scent Sang-ge always carried. It was not perfume, but a man's natural pheromone. Inge could not believe it. Before, Sang-ge had seemed ordinary, nothing remarkable. To confirm her feelings, she texted him and pretended her neck still hurt so she could get therapy again at the hospital where he worked. She promised herself she would go to observe him and completely destroy any illusion. But while Sang-ge treated her, she could not help staring at him and feeling her heart beat rapidly. When the therapy ended and she saw Sang-ge happily chatting with a young nurse, she felt an unexplainable jealousy. Sang-ge invited her to dinner, but Inge pretended to be upset and walked quickly along the street. Suddenly, a delivery motorcycle sped toward her from behind. In a critical moment, Sang-ge quickly pulled her and embraced her to protect her. At that instant, her smartwatch alarmed because of her racing heartbeat. She immediately removed it and hid it, not yet ready to admit the strange feelings emerging inside her. On the other hand, after her husband asked for a divorce, Do-young threw away all the herbal medicines and vitamins for pregnancy. When her mother learned about her plan to separate, she did not comfort her, but instead urged her to endure. For her mother, her husband was not cheating or abusive. He merely had strange preferences, so it could be tolerated. But when Do-young questioned the real reason, she discovered that what her mother was protecting was her own reputation. She did not want relatives talking about her daughter being divorced. Do-young felt hurt and angry. She could not accept that meaningless pride was more important than her daughter's happiness. She remembered that even before they married, she had sensed that her husband had mental issues, but her mother had insisted because he graduated from a prestigious university and had a stable job. Faced with her mother's cold and forceful reasoning, the emotions she had suppressed finally collapsed. She called her selfish and cruel. In extreme sadness, she went to Inge's house and cried in her friend's arms. With Inge listening and comfort, she felt lighter. While talking, Inge mentioned that Sang-ge lived across from her unit. Wanting to vent and seek new joy, Do-young suddenly had an idea. She crossed to the opposite unit and knocked to invite Sang-ge for drinks. With the help of alcohol, the once serious and cold Do-young became lively and charming. Sang-ge even praised her and said she was very cute when drunk. Do-young did not even notice the worry written on Inge's face as she sat beside her. She directly asked Sang-ge about his love life. Did he already have a girlfriend? And if not, would he be willing to try dating her? Upon hearing that, Inge's heart seemed to burn with jealousy, yet she could not say a word. Sang-ge smiled and calmly replied that there was already someone he liked. At that moment, Inge's chest pounded loudly again. Do-young asked who the woman was, but an unexpected visitor suddenly arrived. Inge's ex-boyfriend with his new girlfriend, interrupting their conversation. Meanwhile, Na-dong was still busy searching for someone trustworthy to take care of her children. She wanted to ask her mother to help for a few days during her busy period, but when she remembered that her mother was also helping her older brother and sister-in-law take care of their child, she did not dare to speak. She did not want to exhaust her mother in her old age. However, her mother wholeheartedly cared for her. When she learned that Na-dong had returned to work, she secretly brought delicious food and even helped clean the house. After taking care of her daughter's home, she hurried to pick up her grandchild from the other family. Despite her tireless help, she was not even thanked by her daughter-in-law. Instead, she was treated like a cheap maid and constantly asked to do unreasonable tasks. Na-dong's older brother was even more selfish. When he heard that Na-dong planned to ask their mother for help, he immediately called. On the surface, he pretended to be concerned about their mother's health, but in truth, he was afraid of losing the free nanny for his family. When Na-dong came home and saw the food her mother had cooked, she was deeply moved and immediately called her. She worried that her mother's body might not withstand the exhaustion from traveling and helping. Her mother advised her to work with peace of mind because she was proud that her daughter had returned to work. Meanwhile, at her brother and sister-in-law's house, she endured cold treatment and reproach, even being scolded just for giving candy to her grandchild. When she was finally criticized and indirectly insulted again, her mother reached her limit and decided to stop helping. She told them to find another housekeeper who was cheaper and more obedient. That night, Na-dong and her mother drank together at a small restaurant, and the older woman poured out all her resentment. She admitted that she was also a person who desired a peaceful and happy old age. She wanted to learn flower arranging and coffee brewing as hobbies, but instead she spent every day cleaning up her children's mess without rest. Na-dong was hurt by what she heard. That night, She read messages in her mother's friends group chat and discovered that her mother wanted to travel abroad with her former classmates, but could not because of family responsibilities. Before sleeping, she gently stroked her mother's rough hands and applied lotion. She noticed that her mother's hair had grown whiter and her appearance older, the woman who once seemed so strong. The next morning, her mother woke up early again to prepare lunch for her. While eating, Na Dong felt warmth and love in every bite. That night, her older brother and sister-in-law shamelessly came to fetch their mother. Her sister-in-law pretended to apologize and asked her to return because they could not find a nanny. But the insincerity in their words was obvious. They even said that their mother was good, just overly sensitive. Na Dong could not hold back and rebuked her brother for his extreme selfishness. She reminded him that because he had monopolized their mother's time before, she had been forced to face work and children alone until she eventually resigned. Na Dong firmly said that their mother was not a slave who could be summoned and dismissed whenever they wished. They had no right to order her around like that. She listed her brother's shortcomings one by one. The man did not back down, and they nearly came to blows if not restrained by their mother and sister-in-law. Finally, the heated argument subsided. Although Na Dong was hurt, she thought more about her mother's feelings. She no longer wanted to see her continue sacrificing endlessly. She wanted her mother to learn to be a little selfish and live happily in the remaining years of her life. The next day, her sister-in-law shamelessly invited her mother-in-law to lunch to soften her up. She apologized again and tried to convince her to return to helping them. But this time, her mother firmly refused. She declared that she would no longer sacrifice blindly. She would not allow the happiness of her children and grandchildren to be the measure of her life's value. She wanted to live for herself. That night, Na Dong gave her mother a premium travel voucher. She asked her to enjoy it with her friends and experience happiness just for herself. As for childcare, she had already spoken to her father-in-law. His foot injury had fully healed, and he was happy to play with the children to ease his old age. He was the most suitable to help for now. The next day, her mother dressed beautifully, put on light makeup, and looked full of energy as she pulled her suitcase toward the airport with her friends. At last, the joyful and free journey she had dreamed began. But after arranging her mother's trip, a new problem came from her husband. One night, Win came home drunk and looking troubled. When Na Dong asked what had happened, he did not answer and silently went to sleep. The next day at the office, Mi Suk pulled her aside and whispered shocking news. A female host at the company had attempted suicide by drinking poison, and it was said that Na Dong's husband was involved. Na Dong was stunned and immediately asked some close colleagues. According to rumors, the woman who attempted suicide was supposedly her husband's secret lover. Many had reportedly seen the two together secretly during work hours. Some even claimed that manager Seo had severely scolded Win for not thinking about his wife at home and still having a relationship with another woman. Because of this, Na Dong went home and confronted her husband, demanding a clear explanation. But Win gave neither defense nor apology. He only said that the woman had her own suffering and that things were not as she thought. Na Dong was even more hurt by what seemed like her husband protecting another woman. For her, Win was always right, arrogant, and dominant, and now tainted with betrayal. Win also became angry and said she had judged him without knowing the whole story. Their conversation turned into a fierce argument, and in anger, Win left the house that night. Na Dong was left alone in the quiet house, waiting all night, but he did not return. In her sadness, she remembered the happy memories from when their love first began. Back then, she was the most popular host at Sweet Home, while Win was only a young producer. She had not liked him at first. For her, he was handsome but rude and arrogant. Once, while she was hosting live, Win repeatedly interrupted her through the earpiece and insisted on a strict script. After the program, she scolded him harshly for being unprofessional. But from that conflict, they gradually became close. That night, Win sincerely invited her to dinner to apologize. Amid alcohol and emotion, Na Dong accepted his apology. That night, her view of the young man changed. Dizzy from drinking, she herself pulled him to a motel. And from there, their sweet relationship began and eventually led to marriage. Returning to the present, her father-in-law sat beside her to comfort her. He said that being an adult does not mean one stops making mistakes. No matter how old a person is, they still make mistakes. Na Dong asked how he and her wife had maintained their long marriage smoothly. Her father-in-law quietly answered that the secret lay in the word compassion. He explained that over long years of marriage and through many trials, deep understanding and sympathy for each other are formed. It might sound sad, but that is also the most important thing that keeps warmth and strength in a relationship. That night, Inge and Sango had dinner at a luxurious restaurant. But they did not expect to encounter Inge's opportunistic ex-boyfriend there with his wealthy current girlfriend. Inge was shocked when Sangha suddenly lied and said they were seriously dating. He clearly told the man to know his place and step aside so he could take care of Inge. Inge's cheeks flushed with embarrassment, and she could not understand what Sangha was truly thinking. Her ex-boyfriend quickly sensed something. He said that Sangha was not really Inge's boyfriend and was only pretending. Inge had intended to ignore him and leave, but the man continued to follow and harass her. At a critical moment, Sangha stepped forward to protect her. He firmly held her hand and clearly told the man to stop bothering his woman. He added that he was the present and the man was only part of the past. Because of Sangha's firm stance, the ex-boyfriend was forced to leave, though visibly angry. After that incident, the situation between Inge and Sangha became awkward. Embarrassed, Inge thanked him and said that even though he already liked someone else, he still helped her by pretending to be her boyfriend. But after she said that, Sangha looked directly into her eyes and honestly confessed. She was the woman he liked. He had secretly loved her since college, and even after many years, his feelings had not changed. He said that meeting again made him realize that no one else could make his heart race except Inge. He carefully asked if they could date officially. Seeing her hesitation, Sangha did not force her and gently said he was willing to wait. Do-young could not understand why Inge did not immediately respond to a man like Sangha. Inge only said she did not dislike him, but she still had many fears to face. In the midst of this, her ex-boyfriend called again to disturb her. He said he still loved her and wanted to get back together, even willing to marry immediately and asking her to stop seeing Sangha. But Inge coldly replied and immediately hung up. She had long seen through the man's hypocrisy and greed. Meanwhile, Do-young was arranging the most important decision of her life. She and Sang-min went to family court to file for mutual divorce. After the process, Sang-min invited her for coffee as a final farewell. He sincerely apologized and admitted that he should not have said hurtful words before. He knew that more than anyone, Do-young had a strong desire to become a mother. Do-young sighed and admitted that she had once wanted a child to save their relationship. But perhaps separation was better. If they had a child, it might have been even harder to let go, and the child would have suffered. What she wanted to know was whether Sang-min had truly loved her when they married. Confidently, the man answered yes, yet he could not explain why he had changed after marriage and why he sought companionship in those dolls. In his memory, the romantic moments and sweet memories from the beginning were still clear. Years ago, when Na-dong and Win were dating, they once met Sang-min while eating with two of Na-dong's friends. He had been Win's classmate. Seeing him alone and seemingly sad, they invited him to join them. Sang-min was shy and not used to talking to women, so Do-young took care of him, arranging his utensils and chatting. During their courtship, Do-young once liked a pair of shoes and wanted Sang-min to buy them. He worried and said there was a belief that giving shoes as a gift meant losing the one you love. Do-young promised she would not leave him, so he agreed. As Do-young remembered those times, she realized that the sweeter the past, the more painful the present. The next day, Na-dong and her two friends attended the wedding of a younger acquaintance. When Na-dong heard what Do-young and Inge were going through, she could not help crying in the middle of the celebration. She blamed herself for being so busy with work that she had not noticed her friends suffering sooner. Meanwhile, Inge's ex-boyfriend still could not accept the situation. He blocked Sangha's way to provoke him and create a scene. After Inge's stern reprimand, their conflict temporarily stopped, but it remained unresolved. The man was convinced that Inge still loved him. Inge's ex-boyfriend firmly believed that she was only looking for another man to make him jealous and force him to come back. Inge immediately denied it. She bluntly stated that her feelings for Sangha were real, and everyone was shocked when she admitted that they had already been intimate and had spent the night together. After Inge's clear and bold rejection, her ex-boyfriend finally gave up and left. Meanwhile, Sangha could hardly hide his happiness. He wanted to approach Inge immediately, but he hesitated. Nevertheless, through her words and actions, it seemed that she had quietly accepted his confession. She only clarified that she wanted to take things slowly, step by step, without rushing. As Na-dong and Do-young watched the relationship between Inge and Sangha blossom, their emotions were mixed. They thought that perhaps Inge had not immediately shared about that night because she considered them like family. When people are extremely close and respectful of one another, it can sometimes be even harder to talk about personal matters. Because of this, Na-dong began to reflect on her husband. Perhaps behind his cold and distant behavior, there were also things he could not easily explain. So she decided to speak with the department manager to learn the truth about the rumors of Win's affair. According to the manager, she had only scolded Win because of the gossip spreading within the company and wanted to protect the team's reputation. However, Na-dong noticed the manager's strange behavior and evasive gaze, as if she was hiding something. She also went to the hospital to visit the female colleague suspected of having an affair with her husband. There, she unexpectedly overheard Ina crying and grieving during her visit. Ina was clearly full of fear and guilt, but no matter how much Na Dong questioned her, she said nothing and continued to cry. Suddenly, Mi Suk sent Na Dong an important photo. It showed that an anonymous email had reported a male manager for harassing female employees. According to Mi Suk, it was possible that Win was not cheating at all and was only helping a harassment victim. Instead of being praised, he had been accused. Na Dong remembered the time she had seen the same manager harassing Ina. She realized that her suspicions might have been wrong. She immediately texted Win to apologize. A few days later, Win came home and confessed the whole truth. He had no relationship with the woman. He was only helping her report the manager's harassment. He did not want others to get involved, so he chose to remain silent. Na Dong embraced her husband. She knew that although Win could be dominant, he had a good heart. But filing a complaint against a superior was not a simple matter. Their jobs at Sweet Home could be put at risk. To protect their family and livelihood, Na Dong asked Win to step back from the issue for the time being. Win understood her fear and agreed. Na Dong thought everything would be settled, but she could not find peace. The next day, the manager called her in for a private talk. Pretending to be kind, she reminded Na Dong that she had helped her when she was just starting out. Then she subtly threatened her. If she stayed quiet and did not cause trouble, her career would surely advance. Na Dong understood the true meaning of those words. The male manager being reported was the female manager's own husband, and she wanted to cover up the scandal to protect their family name and power. At first, Na Dong considered staying silent for the sake of her job and family. But an incident at her child's school changed everything. The teacher called her to the kindergarten immediately. A little girl had fallen and claimed that a boy pushed her. By coincidence, Na Dong's child had witnessed it. Her child firmly told the teacher that the girl had simply fallen and no one pushed her. Since there was no clear evidence, the parents were called in. Na Dong asked her child again, and the child insisted the classmate was innocent. She chose to trust her child. However, a few days later, while cleaning, she found a new toy car in her child's bag. When she asked about it, the child admitted it was a gift from a classmate in exchange for lying. The truth was that the classmate had indeed pushed the girl. The child had wanted to tell the truth, but was tempted by the toy and chose to lie. After learning the truth, Na Dong sternly reprimanded her child and taught them to be honest and never accept bribes. She firmly told her child that if they lied for small benefits and covered up wrongdoing, they would never grow up to be a good person. In recent days, she had often been reading her child an educational comic titled Follow Your Conscience. But now, as she thought about the book's message and her own silence regarding the harassment case at work, her conscience weighed heavily on her. She felt like a hypocrite teaching her child what was right while she herself turned a blind eye to wrongdoing. After several sleepless nights, Na Dong made a bold decision. She spoke to her husband and suggested that they file an official complaint with the company's ethics committee regarding the harassment of their female colleague. She said that if she, as a mother, led the way in lying and covering up evil, she would have no right to teach her child to be a good person. Her husband agreed and supported her decision. As parents, they needed to live responsibly to set a good example for their child. While Na Dong faced this heavy decision, her two best friends were also at important turning points in their lives. Inge was now officially dating Sang-gu for their romantic picnic. She woke up early and busily prepared many rice balls filled with love. While happily strolling around, Inge asked about Sang-gu's past relationships. She wanted to know how many people he had loved. Sang-gu honestly answered that there had been two short relationships, and one serious one that lasted 3 years with a fellow doctor at the hospital. Inge suddenly felt jealous. She asked one question after another about why they broke up and what memories they had. Before Sang-gu could even finish speaking, Inge began sulking like a child. She said she had thought she was his first love, so why was there a woman he had loved for so long? On their next date, Inge brought up his ex again. She asked whether they were similar in personality and whether he still had feelings for her. Sang-gu noticed her intense jealousy and worry, so he teased her playfully to provoke her even more. When he went to the bathroom, Inge could not stop herself from secretly checking his phone. But Sang-gu caught her. Instead of getting angry, Sang-gu simply smiled. He opened his phone and read the new message aloud to reassure her. Inge blushed in embarrassment at her immaturity. She admitted she was jealous. To Sang-gu, Inge seemed more lovable and genuine in that moment. He said he liked her jealousy because he knew it came from real love, but he also promised that he would never let her feel insecure in the future. Meanwhile, Do-young continued struggling emotionally after filing for divorce. Even though the case had been submitted, she still could not completely forget her ex-husband. Sometimes she searched online about the psychology of people with unusual obsessions with collecting sex dolls, trying to understand her husband's behavior. One day, her mother-in-law arranged to meet. Her own mother came along to protect her. Without hesitation, her mother-in-law placed the blame for the divorce and their lack of children entirely on Do-young. She said Do-young did not know how to care for a husband and did not know how to bear a child. Do-young's mother immediately defended her, saying the responsibility lay with her son-in-law, especially because of his strange and abnormal obsession with dolls. Hurt and insulted, the mother-in-law insisted that they were art, not something obscene. To avoid a bigger argument, Sang-min arrived and led his mother away. Do-young and her mother were left alone. There, Do-young became angry at her own mother and said she should not interfere so much in her private life. She should not have spoken such harsh words against her ex-husband. She said she was already over 40 and capable of handling her own problems. She no longer wanted to be the obedient daughter who always followed her parents' wishes. She even said that even if her life fell apart, she did not need her mother to fix it for her. Meanwhile, tension at Na-dong's workplace continued. To set an example for their child, she and her husband bravely submitted the official complaint against the manager involved in harassment to the company's ethics committee. The ethics committee summoned the male department head for investigation and to face the accusations. However, he was cunning and firmly denied everything. Instead, he shamelessly blamed the female employee who was the harassment victim. He insisted that she was flirtatious, that she had seduced him and pursued him. When Manager Seo learned that the committee was investigating her husband, she became extremely anxious about their positions in the company. That evening after work, she secretly spoke to Ina, who had also been a victim of the department head but had not yet dared to speak up. According to the investigation process, Ina was next to be called to give a statement. Manager Seo used her power to intimidate and bribe Ina. She hinted that it would be better to twist the truth and exaggerate certain things, and promised to place her in a primetime hosting slot if she cooperated. Because of ambition and fear of power, after much internal struggle, Ina chose to betray her conscience. She colluded with the CEO couple and lied to the committee. She stated that the female complainant and Win had a secret relationship. The male department head followed along and even claimed that Win had orchestrated the scandal to cover up his own affair. Win was summoned again by the ethics committee. He tried to explain that the two were colluding and twisting the truth, but because of the previous testimonies, he was not immediately believed. When he returned home, he confessed something else to Na-dong. He said that Ina had also been a victim of harassment. Na-dong remembered the scene she had once witnessed in the hallway and realized that Ina had likely been bought off or pressured by the company. She felt intense anger and disgust at the idea of using a victim to cover up the truth and destroy an innocent person. Manager Seo spoke to Na-dong again and accused her of being ungrateful and betraying the person who had helped her career. But Na-dong stood firm. She respected and appreciated the guidance she had once received, but she could not close her eyes to the immoral and wrongful actions of the manager's husband. Soon, someone whispered to Na-dong that malicious rumors about Win were spreading within the company. People were saying that his report was merely a show to cover up his own affair. On top of that, she heard that Ina had been promoted and moved to the primetime slot. Na-dong and Mi-suk became even more convinced that Ina had been bought off with benefits. Na-dong believed that a womanizer like the department head could not have harassed only one or two women. If they could find another victim willing to testify, the truth would come out. Quietly, Na-dong contacted two younger colleagues to inquire. They mentioned a former intern named Kim. According to them, she had worked under the department head for less than 3 months before suddenly resigning without explanation. Na-dong saw a glimmer of hope. She asked a producer for help in obtaining the former intern's contact information. The producer assisted her, but unfortunately, the woman had already gone abroad to study and communication had been cut off. The situation worsened when Manager Seo discovered that Na-dong was conducting her own investigation. In retaliation, she set a cunning trap. She instructed a supplier director allied with her to call Win and tell him that during the next live broadcast, they should lower the product price and announce that it had already been discussed and agreed upon. Win was cautious and tried to contact Manager Seo to confirm, but she did not answer and even turned off her phone. With a live broadcast approaching and no time left, he was forced to trust the director and approved the large discount during the program. After the show, Manager Seo publicly scolded Win in front of all the employees. She strongly denied that any price reduction had been discussed and accused Win of causing major losses to the company. The supplier director, who was secretly an accomplice, also denied everything he had told Win. In anger and frustration, Win lost control and punched the director who had lied. Manager Seo immediately used this as a reason to hold him accountable and demand consequences for the incident. At that moment, Win realized that he had completely fallen into the perfect trap set by the Seo couple. Win deeply regretted what had happened, but Na-dong never once blamed him. Instead, She told him to lift his head high and promised that she would do everything to clear her husband's name. After that incident, Win was transferred to heavy work in the logistics department. Meanwhile, because of her collusion, Ina was quickly promoted and became the main host in the primetime slot. Na Dong spoke to her privately and directly. She told Ina that she was selfish and ungrateful. She reminded her that when Ina was just a newcomer to the company, Win had helped her greatly. But even when confronted with harsh words, Ina firmly denied everything and refused to support the couple. With no help from Ina, Na Dong sought out the supplier director who had conspired to deceive Win. But the director had shut down his office, and the guards drove her away. Na Dong did not give up easily. She checked the director's social media and learned that he loved golf and often went to an exclusive golf club outside the city. She went there and lied to the receptionist, saying the director owed her money. She asked to be informed if he arrived. Meanwhile, manager Seo continued to pressure Na Dong at the office. To force her to resign, she assigned her an extremely harsh schedule, back-to-back midnight and early morning programs, the time slots with the lowest viewership. Na Dong chose to endure and worked overtime day and night even as her health declined. But the manager did not stop. She criticized Na Dong's appearance on camera, saying her skin looked pale and lifeless and was unattractive to viewers. She even bluntly told her that if she could not handle the pressure, she should just resign. At the same time, Inge was going through her own emotional struggles. She was happy with Sang-go and felt as if the joy of her youth had returned. But whenever she thought about her early menopause and the possibility that she might never have children, her chest felt heavy. A close colleague advised her that hiding such an important matter before marriage was like sabotaging the relationship. Every day, Sang-go was kind and caring toward Inge. He spoke gently and often cooked for her. One night, in a romantic moment, he suddenly proposed. He said he wanted to spend his life with Inge and build a happy family together. But Inge froze, especially when she thought about her secret regarding her health. At that moment, Na Dong called and asked for help. Her father-in-law had to return to the province, and there was no one left to watch the children. Inge and Sang-go immediately went to the house. Sang-go even brought toys and happily played with the children. During a quiet moment, Inge asked if he truly liked children. He confidently said yes. He shared that he was an only child and had grown up lonely, so he dreamed of having a happy home filled with children's laughter. He added that if they got married, he wanted to have a daughter who looked like Inge. Hearing that, Inge suddenly fell silent, her heart aching. Meanwhile, Na Dong received a message from the golf club receptionist saying that the director was there. She immediately drove over to intercept him. But unfortunately, manager Seo's husband was also there with the director. She caught them together and was roughly shoved by the man. He warned her to stop interfering in adult matters if she did not want to regret it. When Na Dong returned home injured and exhausted, Inge helped bandage her wounds. Na Dong felt hesitant and weak. She wondered whether it was still right to fight against evil and help others, or whether it would be better to compromise and resign. But Sang-go spoke up to encourage her. He said that goodness requires courage. If she backed down now and used her family as an excuse, what would her children learn? They might learn to be afraid and avoid responsibility. Because of those words, Na Dong regained her courage. She remembered that the director and the department head often rode in the same car. Perhaps the vehicle's dashcam had recorded their suspicious conversations. That might be the key to exposing the truth and turning the situation around. The next morning, Na Dong noticed that her two sons had woken up early. They put on their socks and got ready on their own, without reminders. Even though they spent less time together because of their parents' busy schedules, the children said they preferred their current mother, the busier one who smiled more often and was more confident than before. Because of her children's innocent and wholehearted support, Na Dong's determination to fight for what was right until the end grew even stronger. Meanwhile, Inge was fighting her own inner battle. She returned to the hospital for a complete medical checkup. The results confirmed the earlier diagnosis. She indeed had early menopause. This meant she had almost no chance of having children. The doctor gave her special medication to regulate her hormones. But when Sang-go asked, she said it was only vitamins. He trusted her completely and did not ask further. Inge did not have the courage to tell the painful truth. That night, as they lay side by side watching a movie and she leaned against his chest, she quietly turned away and could not stop herself from crying. She loved Sang-go deeply, but she did not know how to face the future with him, feeling that she was lacking as a woman. Meanwhile, Do-young was on her own journey after the divorce. After the separation was finalized, her ex-husband Sang-min suddenly gave her a pair of shoes as a farewell gift. They were the expensive shoes she had once longed for when they were dating. Sang-min had not bought them before because of a meaningless superstition that giving shoes would cause a loved one to walk away. He had feared that if Do-young wore them, she would leave him. But now, he had accepted that he had to let go. He hoped the shoes would carry Do-young to a better place and toward the new happiness she deserved. Do-young's heart was filled with sorrow and regret. Soon after, she met with her former mother-in-law to learn the truth. She wanted to understand the root of her ex-husband's strange obsession with collecting dolls. After much hesitation, her former mother-in-law revealed the painful past. It was connected to Sang-min's tragic and traumatic childhood. As a child, he was weak and often cried, so his drunken father frequently beat him. To protect her son, his mother closed her clothing shop and hid 2 mannequins in a dark basement. Those became Sang-min's only companions during his lonely childhood. To comfort him, his mother named the mannequins and told him they were angels sent to protect him. The young Sang-min believed her. Whenever his father beat him, he hid there and talked to his angels. As she told the story, the former mother-in-law could not stop crying. She admitted that she had rushed Do-young to have a child because she believed that an innocent baby could heal her son's wounds from the past. Gradually, Do-young understood everything. The man who seemed strange and childlike was actually a wounded little boy inside who had never healed. Meanwhile, Na-dong continued her solitary fight for justice. With the help of the receptionist, she tracked down the secret meeting place of the supplier director and the department head. She pretended to be a driver for hire so she could take the director home. She planned to seize the opportunity when he was drunk and retrieve the dashcam memory card as evidence. But before she could act, she saw Ina barely able to stand from drunkenness while being let out by the lecherous department head. The director also had malicious intentions and seemed to be assaulting her. Fearing for Ina's safety, Na-dong no longer thought about the memory card. She sped her car forward and blocked the man's vehicle. She quickly got out and pulled Ina behind her to protect her like an older sister. Faced with Na-dong's courage and concern, Ina found the strength to speak up. She shouted that she had not wanted to drink with a man and had been forced. Na-dong kicked the department head in the leg before the two of them left the place. On the way home, Ina cried and confessed all her regret. She admitted that in her desperate desire to become famous and secure a primetime slot, she had chosen to set aside her conscience and lie, hurting others. Na-dong gently advised her not to be foolish anymore. No blessing simply falls from the sky. She needed to learn to distinguish right from wrong and, above all, respect and protect herself. Fearing that the department head might follow her, Ina asked to stay the night. Without hesitation, Na-dong agreed. She even gave her own bed and told her to rest well. She believed that after the storm, the sun would rise again, and tomorrow would bring hope that everything could be set right. But at midnight, Ina could not sleep because of her conscience. She went into the living room and watched an old home shopping program from a company. She felt deep remorse toward Na-dong and the female harassment victim. Because of blind ambition, she had chosen silence in the face of injustice and even helped evil. Before, Ina had thought that if she simply closed her eyes and stayed silent, everything would be fine and she would benefit as well. But reality proved how grave her mistake was. All concealment and deception would eventually return and slap her even more painfully. That same night, after hearing once again that her husband had caused trouble, Manager Seo personally met Na-dong to negotiate. She directly offered various benefits, money, promotion, and other privileges. There was only one condition. Na-dong had to remain silent about her husband's crimes. Na-dong looked at her and asked why. She could not understand why a smart and successful woman like Manager Seo would not simply divorce a womanizer and immoral man. Manager Seo explained that she was doing it for their teenage daughter. She did not want her daughter to be mocked or pointed at by classmates as the child of a sexual offender. But Na-dong frankly told her that she had never truly understood her daughter's feelings. By continuously defending and covering up for her husband over the years, her daughter was likely the one suffering and feeling ashamed the most. Na-dong said she still respected Manager Seo's talent and hoped she could restore the integrity and dignity she once admired. The next day, Na-dong and Ina entered the ethics committee room together. In front of the council, Ina bravely withdrew her previous false testimony. She admitted that she had been forced to lie and exposed the department head's long-standing harassment of female employees. Because of Ina's clear statement and evidence, the department head was immediately dismissed and placed under investigation. Manager Seo, out of shame and responsibility, resigned from her position. Win's name was cleared, and he was reinstated to his previous role. But Na-dong did not expect that this victory would mark the beginning of another trial in her life. Because of her relentless efforts, justice had been partially served, but it was not the end. The next day, Mi-suk rushed to share shocking news. The former department head and the supplier director had been arrested by the police. The director had allegedly driven drunk and was involved in a serious accident. During the investigation, the police retrieved footage from the vehicle's dashcam and discovered even more horrifying evidence. In the video, it was clearly seen that the department head and the director had both committed sexual assault against a female employee inside the car. Only then did Na Dong realize that the truth was far worse and more monstrous than she had imagined. It was not merely simple harassment. After the department head was imprisoned, manager CO visited him in jail. She cried and blamed him for destroying their family. But instead of repenting, the man shifted the blame onto her. He said that because his wife had too strong a personality and did not respect him, he had been forced to seek comfort outside. Na Dong and Win repeatedly visited the female victim in the hospital. The woman held Na Dong's hand and thanked her for her courage. Na Dong encouraged her and said that the best revenge against evil people was to live well and happily. Because of this severe trial, the bond between Na Dong and Win grew even stronger. He loved her resilience, courage, and principles even more. Na Dong, in turn, appreciated Win's quiet support and kindness. But the happiness was only temporary. Bad news came again. After her brave exposure of corruption, Na Dong received an email from EST Home stating that she was being terminated due to unclear performance issues. Her colleagues were angry and dismayed, especially Mi Suk. They knew that the real reason for her dismissal was the company's retaliation for exposing the scandal that had damaged the group's reputation. For Na Dong, what she did was a defense of justice. But for the company's management, it was exposing the organization's filth and damaging its image. Her husband was furious and wanted to file a complaint with Human Resources to fight for her, but Na Dong stopped him. She did not want him to get dragged into it and lose his job as well. However, she promised herself that she would not allow herself to be oppressed like that. The next day, Na Dong went straight to HR to demand a clear explanation. Based on her performance and sales record, her results had been outstanding, and she was one of the best among her batch of trainees. But HR merely shrugged and could not provide a clear answer. She requested to meet with the senior executives to speak directly, but the secretary repeatedly rejected her, saying they were busy. With no other choice, she blocked the executives after a shareholders' meeting. She clearly explained her excellent performance and insisted that her termination had no basis and was an act of retaliation. But a high-ranking official coldly replied that the company was a place to make money, not a court for seeking justice or playing hero. According to him, what she did had disrupted the order and power structure within the organization. After being dismissed and packing her belongings, she overheard two female colleagues whispering and rejoicing over her termination. They said she should not have interfered and that it was good to have one fierce competitor gone. Mi Suk could not hold back and openly scolded the two, calling them selfish and cowardly. Na Dong was deeply grateful to Mi Suk for defending her. Mi Suk said she was ready to help anytime if needed. Before she finally left, manager CO also approached her to apologize. She admitted that she had been wrong to blindly defend her husband and had harmed many people. She encouraged Na Dong to continue striving because she truly had talent. Although they had their disagreements, she still respected Na Dong's ability and character. Nevertheless, Na Dong sank into confusion. After losing her job, she returned to being a full-time housewife, caring for her two children and busy with endless household chores. One day, while cleaning the refrigerator, a heavy object fell on her foot and injured her. In that moment, physical pain and emotional anguish merged, and she broke down in tears. She felt worthless, her efforts unrecognized, and powerless against harsh reality. Meanwhile, Do-young still could not forget her ex-husband. From time to time, she called to check on him. Sang-min left the house to her and was moving out that night. Do-young offered to share a simple instant noodle meal as a final dinner. She cooked it herself and even shared her secret recipe. While eating, Do-young gathered the courage to apologize about the dolls and her misjudgment of his hobby. But Sang-min became angry. He said he would rather be hated than pitied because of his weak and painful past. He did not want Do-young to look at him with sympathy. Meanwhile, Inge was also facing a heavy decision. Sang-gu secretly bought a diamond ring to propose. He excitedly texted and invited her to a romantic evening. But after deep reflection, Inge decided to end everything. When Sang-gu took out the ring and was about to kneel, Inge stopped him. She rejected the proposal and broke up with him. To hide her early menopause and inability to have children, she lied and said she was tired and did not want marriage. Sang-gu chased after her outside, unable to believe it. He knew Inge's eyes were not lying, but Inge stood firm and said they belonged to different worlds. Sang-gu was deeply hurt. Inge also cried as she walked away because she loved him but chose to sacrifice herself. At work, a junior employee accidentally broke an expensive prop ring used in a photo shoot. To protect the employee, Inge voluntarily paid to replace the broken ring. But instead of appreciating her sacrifice, her superior mocked her, saying that since she would not get married anyway, she might as well keep the broken ring as a souvenir. Inge was hurt and ran to the restroom to cry. Unexpectedly, The ring fell into the toilet, and she was forced to retrieve it despite feeling nauseous and humiliated. Amid everything, Win sent a message in the group chat. He gave luxury travel tickets to Inge and Do Young and asked them to take Na Dong along to rest after losing her job. They immediately agreed and took Na Dong on a girls' getaway. During the trip, it felt like they had returned to their youth. They walked barefoot in the mud, played on the beach, went to the spa, drank alcohol, ate grilled abalone, and talked all night. Na Dong even bought a kilo of fresh abalone for each of her friends as gifts. While walking, they passed by a mysterious tarot reading shop and out of curiosity, had their fortunes told. The old fortune teller seemed to read their destinies. To Na Dong, she said, "Think carefully. Will you hold a sharp sickle or the spoon that feeds your family?" To Do Young, she said, "The long-closed door of your heart has been struck by a strong wind. It is time to open it." To Inge, she said, "Your dry life is about to be watered by a sweet rain." After they left, Na Dong and Do Young excitedly discussed the fortune teller's words. But Inge remained quiet. The two assumed she had merely argued with Sang-go and advised her not to be too proud. In the end, Inge could not bear it anymore and confessed that she had broken up with him. She explained that she did not want to disappoint Sang-go, who dreamed of having a child and a happy family. Because of her condition, she could not give him that. And if she told him the truth, he would surely sacrifice his own desires, which she could not endure. Overwhelmed by emotion, Inge separated from them to be alone. She did not reply to messages and even turned off her phone while drinking alone by the beach. Na Dong and Do Young became worried. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Sang-go was beside himself thinking about Inge. A female patient returned to retrieve forgotten medication. When he saw the medicine, he realized it was the same one Inge was taking, medication for early menopause. At that moment, he understood the real reason for the breakup. He regretted being oblivious and immediately called Do Young. Upon learning that Inge was missing during the trip, he hurriedly traveled hundreds of kilometers. When he arrived, they searched for Inge in the dark. They only found her hat washed up on the shore. Sang-go panicked and feared the worst. Until morning, they still could not find her. Even though he was exhausted, he sent the two friends home first and continued searching alone, refusing to give up. Na Dong and Do Young decided to circle back once more before heading home, and suddenly they saw Inge wrapped in a blanket, shivering by the roadside. She was safe. She explained that the previous night she had gone into a public building to use the restroom, but the guard had not noticed her and accidentally locked her inside. She only got out that morning when someone came to open the door. Her phone had also died, so she could not send any news. When Sang-go learned that Inge had been found, he ran to her and hugged her tightly. He thought he had lost her forever. On the windy shore, he asked why she had hidden her early menopause. Crying, Inge said that there were many better women for him who could give him a child, and she did not want to deprive him of a chance to become a father. But Sang-go looked into her eyes seriously and said that aside from Inge, there was no one else he wanted to be with. He knelt again and proposed. He picked up a soft drinking tab from the sand and slipped it onto Inge's ring finger as a symbolic ring. He declared that whether they had children or not did not matter. The important thing was that they would be together for life. From afar, Na Dong and Do Young cried with joy. It seemed the fortune teller's prediction had come true. Na Dong asked Do Young what the strong wind in her heart might mean. Embarrassed, Do Young admitted that she had fallen in love with her ex-husband again after the divorce. She explained the true origin of his issues and the dolls. Na Dong advised her to be brave and try reconnecting. That evening, Do Young entered her ex-husband's workroom. She took out 2 stones she had picked up from the beach and drew smiling faces on them. She sent him a photo and joked that they were her new comfort dolls. Soon, Sang-min arrived with flowers and knelt to apologize. He admitted that he had not been angry before, but ashamed and felt unworthy. But because of Do Young's actions, he realized that she accepted him completely. They decided to have dinner and, under candlelight, apologize to each other. Although legally divorced, it was clear their attraction remained strong. After a heartfelt conversation, the barriers in Sang-min's heart disappeared, and their love rekindled. In a quiet corner of the street, he kissed Do Young like before, and they spent a night filled with warmth and healing. Meanwhile, Na Dong returned to her former company to return her uniform and ID. There, she ran into an old friend who had become a famous video blogger. The friend suggested that she try creating her own channel and share her experiences. She said that a cell phone and good content were enough to earn money and fame. Seeing that her friend had over 100,000 subscribers, Na Dong was encouraged to try. When she got home, she immediately made her first video about expensive branded items that were not worth buying. But the views were low, and she felt disappointed. When Ina visited and brought premium Korean beef, she watched the video and gave advice. She said Na Dong should not follow youth trends, but instead focus on topics suited to her age and experience. Na Dong thought deeply. When she picked up her children and noticed one's pants stained with crayon, she suddenly had an idea. She shifted her channel's direction to products tested by a mother, home tips, parenting, and honest product reviews. Soon, Jean Hai happily reported that her followers were rapidly increasing. Encouraged by the positive results, she created more videos, including comparisons of different laundry detergent brands and their effectiveness in removing stains. Gradually, Na Dong found a new path that matched her true self. Because she was familiar and experienced in this field, Na Dong spoke confidently and convincingly. Before long, her video views soared and received many positive comments. However, after some time, the viewership slowed and dropped again, causing her great concern. One day, while picking up her children from school and strapping them into child safety seats in the car, she mentioned to Jean Hai how good and safe the model was. Jean Hai suggested she make a detailed review about car seats since many mothers were interested in such topics. Na Dong saw the potential and immediately acted. She researched all night, studied the product's technical details, recorded a video, and uploaded it that evening. The next morning, she woke up to her phone vibrating repeatedly. When she checked, she saw thousands of comments and messages of praise. Her video had gone viral. A famous actress even thanked her because, thanks to her review, she had chosen a safe car seat for her child. Soon, the car seat company contacted her. According to them, because of her honest video, their sales had surged dramatically and stocks had sold out. They had even been saved from impending losses. Because of this, they decided to bring the product to a television shopping channel to expand the market, and they wanted Na Dong to be a special guest on the program. The ironic fate was that the shopping channel was Sweet Home, the company that had recently fired her. She was hesitant about returning, but wholeheartedly, Woo Bin encouraged her. He said it was a golden opportunity, a way to promote her channel and prove her abilities again to those who had belittled her. With her husband's trust and support, Na Dong accepted the offer as an honorary guest. During the live broadcast, her presentation of the car seat was excellent and emotional. Within just 10 minutes, all stocks were sold out. The program achieved record-breaking sales. After the successful show, the executive who had previously fired her personally apologized and offered her a regular employee position with high rank and benefits. But Na Dong simply smiled and politely declined. She said she preferred the freedom she had found as an independent content creator rather than being a host limited by a company. She chose to lead her own path. Meanwhile, Inge decided to marry Sang-go. She began searching for a wedding gown and preparing for the wedding. She even tried to set Do-young up with someone, thinking she was still single, but was surprised to hear her sweetly talking to her ex-husband. That was when she learned that Do-young and Sang-min had reunited. Do-young shared that now that the pressure about having a child was gone and their past wounds had been addressed, their relationship had become better and happier. They had become caring and loving toward each other again. One day, Do-young felt nauseous and thought it was simple indigestion. But when she visited the doctor, she discovered she was naturally pregnant. When they saw the 2 red lines on the pregnancy test, the couple cried with overwhelming joy. Their little miracle arrived at a time they did not expect, when their hearts were finally at peace. A year later, the lives of the 3 women had completely changed. Inge was promoted to powerful editor-in-chief of a fashion magazine and lived happily with Sang-go, who continued to love her unconditionally. Do-young gave birth to a healthy and beautiful baby girl. Her relationship with Sang-min was fully restored, and their home was filled with laughter. Even her mother-in-law had changed and lovingly accepted her and her grandchild. Na Dong achieved even greater success with her video channel. She established her own small media company and invited Mi-suk and Jean Hai to become key members of her team. They continued working together to grow their careers. Every weekend, the 3 friends still met to talk about work, family, and life. Though challenges never disappeared from the world, everything felt lighter because of true friendship. On Na Dong's birthday, Woo Bin gave her a sparkling diamond ring as a gift, replacing the improvised ring from the previous year. She wore it and smiled happily. Silently, she prayed that every woman, regardless of age, would have the chance to live brightly, with courage and true happiness, just like that moment. And here ends our series. Thank you very much for watching. Until next time.